Wet tile, no rail. Your leg isn't sure it'll hold. But here's what nobody tells you. That moment was already decided, weeks or years before you ever stepped onto that floor. Stay and you'll know where you stand before life tests you on it. I'm Atlas Reed. Subscribe. You belong here. Point 1. Most men don't think about this until after it's already happened once. The moment a man over 60 stops fully trusting his own next step. Not the fall itself. The hesitation right before it. The half-second pause on the ladder rung. The extra hand on the railing that wasn't there last year. I watched a stronger man than me lose his footing on a bathroom floor that wasn't his own. He'd been physically powerful his entire life, the kind of man who carried furniture up 3 flights without asking for help. None of that mattered on wet tile, reaching for a towel rail that wasn't there. Here's what nobody tells men in their 60s. Staying active and staying steady are not the same project. You can be lifting, walking, doing everything right for your strength, and still be carrying a fear that quietly shrinks your world, skipping the uneven trail, avoiding the ladder, taking the stairs slower than you need to, letting the grandkids run ahead on the dock instead of following. It's like keeping a car tuned perfectly and never taking it past 30 miles an hour because you're not sure the brakes will hold. The engine's fine. The confidence in it isn't. And a man doesn't usually notice he's made that trade. He just notices one day how much smaller his week has gotten. There's research behind every part of this, so nobody has to take it on faith. Studies following older adults put fear of falling somewhere between 1 in 5 and nearly 2 in 5. And for men who've already had one fall, that climbs past 70%. That's not a mood. That's not caution dressed up as wisdom. That's a measurable shift in how a man moves through his own life, one avoided doorway at a time. So if strength isn't the missing piece, what is? That's where this gets uncomfortable, because the honest answer isn't what most fitness content tells you, and it's not something more sets and reps will ever fix. Point 2. Here's the uncomfortable part. Fear of falling doesn't just sit quietly in the background. It changes behavior, and it does it so gradually you don't clock it as a decision. A man who's nervous about his footing starts avoiding the things that actually keep him steady. The uneven ground, the ladder, the fast walk to catch a light, the hike with the loose gravel switchback near the top. He trades activity for caution without ever deciding to one small substitution at a time. The flat mall walk instead of the trail, the elevator instead of the 2 flights he used to take without thinking. That trade has a cost the body remembers. Past 60, muscle mass declines somewhere between 3 and 8% per decade, and that decline speeds up specifically in the years a man spends being more careful and less active. The very behavior fear talks a man into is the behavior that makes the next fall more likely, not less. It's a feedback loop with no natural floor. The less you trust your balance, the less you use it, the less you have left to trust. Left alone, it doesn't level off. It compounds. That's not there to scare anyone. It's there to make one thing clear. Whether a man addresses this on his own terms, deliberately, or lets caution quietly decide for him, one skipped activity at a time until the decision's already made and he never got a vote. Most men treat staying active as a strength question. More reps, more miles, more effort. But there's a specific reason effort alone doesn't fix this, and it has nothing to do with how hard you're training. Point 3. Strength training builds muscle. It does not, on its own, retrain the 3 systems your body actually uses to catch itself. Your inner ear tells your brain which way is up, even with your eyes closed. Your eyes track the horizon and the ground rushing toward your feet, and the sensors packed into your joints and the soles of your feet, the ones you've never once consciously felt working, report back exactly where the ground is, even when it's uneven, even when it's dark, even when you're not looking down. Those 3 work together every time you catch a stumble without thinking about it, correcting 100 small errors a minute without asking for credit. And like everything else, they decline gradually, quietly, long before a fall makes it obvious. You don't wake up one morning with worse balance. You lose a little of it every year, the same way you lose a little hearing at the top of your range, present the whole time, unnoticed until something forces the comparison. Building muscle doesn't retrain any of those 3 directly, which is exactly the system-specific balance retraining that still standing after 60, the complete independence system, walks through. It's linked in the description below. If you're watching on TV, there's a QR code on screen right now. Scan it and it'll take you straight there. Programs built specifically around this kind of targeted retraining, not general exercise, the specific kind, have shown real, measurable reductions in fall risk in controlled research, in some studies cutting it close to half. That's not a guess. That's what happens when the actual systems get trained instead of just the muscle around them. So if the fix isn't more effort, what does a man do with the effort he's already putting in? Point 4. Here's the part most men never get told, even the ones already exercising consistently. Those 3 balance systems don't fail on a schedule, and they don't fail together. One can be quietly declining for years while the other 2 compensate for it, covering the gap so smoothly you'd never know it was there, which means a man can feel steady right up until the day the last system covering for the others finally can't anymore. It's less like a switch flipping and more like a 3-engine plane that's already flying on 2 without anyone in the cabin noticing. There's a clinical term for just the inner ear piece of that decline, presbyostasis, and it's already underway in most men well before 60 without a single symptom to announce it. These systems don't fail loudly, and they don't fail together. One goes quiet for years while the others quietly pick up the slack, right up until they can't, and the first sign is usually the fall itself, which raises the question nobody wants to sit with. If it's silent, how does a man actually know where he stands right now before life tests it for him? Let's find out right now in about 10 seconds. If you're able, stand up, keep something sturdy nearby just in case, and lift 1 foot off the ground. Don't hold on unless you need to. Count in your head. If you were under 10 seconds, that's not a verdict. It's information you didn't have 60 seconds ago. If you passed 10 easily, good. Now you know which system to actually protect, instead of just guessing which one is quietly carrying the other 2. That test just told you something your last physical never did, because balance is rarely checked at a routine checkup. Not because it doesn't matter, because nobody asks. Point 5. Here's the full picture. The 3 systems that hold you up decline on their own separate timelines, silently, and general fitness alone doesn't retrain any of them directly. And this is the part worth sitting with. Every one of those systems responds to specific, targeted work at any age past 60. Presbyostasis, weakening proprioception, aging vision, all of it is trainable, not just manageable. The fear a lot of men carry isn't really about the floor. It's about not knowing whether the ground under them is something they can still trust. And confidence is not the absence of fear. It's enough practice that the fear no longer makes the decision. Here's what that actually looks like, day to day. It's standing on 1 foot for 30 seconds while you brush your teeth instead of holding the counter out of habit. It's walking a straight line heel to toe across the kitchen tile before your coffee's ready. It's closing your eyes for 10 seconds while you stand, on purpose in a safe spot, because your inner ear needs practice working without your eyes doing all the reporting for it. None of it looks impressive. None of it needs a gym. It takes minutes, and the systems it trains don't respond to anything else. That's the whole shift. Not becoming fearless. Becoming a man whose balance has actually been trained enough that fear stops steering the day. The walk not taken, the ladder not climbed, the grandkid not chased across the yard. A man who's done that work doesn't think about his footing anymore. He just moves. That's not a fitness outcome. That's what it looks like to still be the man your family counts on to be standing there. That's the loop this whole video opened with, the fear that quietly shrinks a man's world before a single fall ever happens, and the fact that it's entirely trainable if it's trained on purpose, not left to chance. That's precisely what Still Standing After 60, the complete independent system, hands you. The specific, step-by-step retraining for all 3 balance systems, laid out the way a physical therapist would lay it out after a fall, except you get it before one. Full details and the link are in the description, and the QR code's still on screen if you're watching on TV. This is the last time I'll mention it. If part of you is thinking you'll start once things get worse, that's the exact thinking this video is trying to interrupt. Every year this goes untrained is a year those systems get harder to retrain, not easier. That's simply how the body works past 60. The best time to start was years ago. The next best time is before you need it, not after. If this is the kind of training intelligence you want every week, subscribe. We put out videos weekly, and everyone is built for men serious about staying independent, not just strong for a season and cautious for the rest of it. I'm Atlas Reed. Keep doing the work.